Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News for Wednesday, July 8. I'm Carrie Simpson. A special welcome to our viewers on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Opposition spokesman on education reacts to PEP results. Trailer driver in critical condition following accident. And later in sports, it's rest day in the 2026 World Cup following round of 16. Thank you for joining us. Now the details. The opposition spokesman on education, Damian Crawford, is chiding the education ministry for what he calls untruthful in how the recent PEP exam numbers were reported. The Ministry of Education reported that 3 of 4 subject areas in the recently concluded PEP exams exceeded the ministry's 70% target. The analysis showed that 72% of students scored proficient or highly proficient in language arts, literacy 79% mastery, numeracy 75% mastery, while mathematics only missed by 1%. But according to opposition spokesman on education, Damian Crawford, the ministry is celebrating an unfortunate assessment of the facts surrounding the situation.
The examination of PEP this year has changed because of Melissa, and so to that extent they only had one component of the examination. To compare that to last year and claim that we have improved is a ridiculous comparison of oranges to apples, because these children did not do the same exam last year, nor did they do the exam that the last set of students did. So in an effort to claim that they are working, they're trying to say that the exam that didn't include a high level of application and was mostly around the multiple choice and only two of the topics would have proven that they are working effectively.
Additionally, Mr. Crawford said this year marks the first time grade 6 students have done the literacy test, noting that the ministry's assessment of it is incorrect.
To claim that there was improvement is improbable for us to have assessed, because we'd have to look at last year's 6th grade and this year's 6th grade. What they're claiming is that compared to last year 5th grade, the students would have improved, but there is always levels of literacy. So we have to maintain or attain if they have achieved 6th grade literacy as versus improving upon their 5th grade assessment. So there's a level of literacy for 3 grade, 4 grade, 5 grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And so therefore, we'd have to have an assessment of if they achieve 6th grade literacy.
And Mr. Crawford reacted to the minister's report that 90% of students were placed in one of 7 schools of choice, while 9.5% of students were placed by proximity.
Because we don't have zoning but school choice, the examination is used to assess who gets their choice, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, up to 6th or 7th. And again, the ministry is trying to use 7 choices to claim that everybody got their choice. Most children don't even know 7th school, much less to not have gotten their choice if it's 7 choices. Those among our age group would know once upon a time we had 2 choices. And that would have proven if you had completed the assessment in a satisfactory way.
In the meantime, Mr. Crawford accused the government of being segmenters of the nation's children.
I hear an uproar about the Ascot Primary School that had a separation of those in gowns or those not in gowns, and the government had intervened to claim they don't want that segregation. However, you do have a segregation with the park lunch line and the non-park lunch line that the government facilitates. Those children incapable to afford a lunch have to go in a special line and receive special food, and that is every day, as versus this one day where the principal sought to reward those who did well, and we're seeking to promote that he was seeking to embarrass those who did not do well. So segregation in our schools have been a government systematic program, both from traditional and non-traditional.
To other news, a trailer overturned in Pamford, St. Thomas, leaving the driver in critical condition. According to reports, the truck was traveling through the area when the driver lost control, causing it to plunge into a gully. The driver was rushed to hospital where he remains in critical condition. The Yalis police are currently investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident. The Gloria Gale institution now has a new perimeter fence to improve security for the facility and its residents. The project was made possible through the support of Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, that's CBRJ, as part of its ongoing commitment to improving the welfare and safety of persons with disabilities.
They don't fit well into the other institutions. Yes? So we are going to make sure that this institution is well taken care of because we care for our children. The students are the joy of this institution. They remind us that we must always build. They remind us why we must always protect and that we must always uplift. This fence is for them. It's a symbol of how important they are to all of us here.
A man is desperately appealing for assistance after his life was turned upside down following the diagnosis of a rare spinal disease. Alia Bryant has the details.
Just months ago, he was on his feet, earning an honest living. Today, even the simplest movement is a struggle. A rare spinal disease has turned John Campbell's life upside down, leaving him unable to walk or work.
It started out slow, in December, because I was going to work and I noticed my mobility, because I work in the restaurant, in the food industry. And when I go to serve, I always serve people. But I notice when I go, I have the plates to serve. I notice like I can't make it to do my job like that.
What began as minor aches and pains soon developed into a debilitating condition. After multiple visits to doctors, the medication he was prescribed no longer provided any relief. Campbell was eventually referred to a bone specialist at the Kingston Public Hospital, where he underwent a series of tests.
When I was down by KPH, they referred me to the University of the West Indies. And I went up by university and I did another examination. After I did some other examination, I was referred now to do an X-ray.
Mr. Campbell says the surgery he desperately needs is expected to cost between 3 and 4 million Jamaican dollars. Unaware that February would be the last time his body would function normally, Campbell says the devastating diagnosis was followed by an even greater question. Where would the money come from?
As grandma would say, it's not what you work, it's what you save. But over the period, it exhausted. I did get some help from my employers, but I was on staff like that. So after a period of time, there is so much you can do and no more.
For now, his 25-year-old daughter has become his primary caregiver, helping him through each day. But with the cost of his medical care far beyond their reach, John Campbell is appealing to the public for any assistance possible to help towards the cost of his X-ray and the life-changing surgery he desperately needs. Alia Bryant, TVJ News.
It's now time for a break, but do stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back. It's now time for the Business Minute. The Bank of Jamaica is reporting a slight increase in the country's net international reserves during June. According to the central bank, the reserves increased slightly at the end of May to $6.489 billion at the end of June. The NIR measures the difference between Jamaica's foreign assets and its short-term foreign liabilities and is regarded as an important indicator of the country's ability to meet its international financial obligations. The bank says the increase was supported by a sharp 67% decline in foreign liabilities, which fell to $3.2 million in June. Further afield, Samsung earned more last quarter than it did in 2024 and 2025 combined, and it's not because of a new Galaxy phone. The South Korean company is a large supplier of the semiconductors that data centers and AI companies are gobbling up. That frenzy for silicon led to $58 billion in profits last quarter. That's nearly 20 times what the company brought in during the same period last year. And that's it for the Business Minute. Preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In this evening's Health Report, we look at swimmer's ear.
Swimmer's ear is an infection of the outer ear, which in this case we're talking about the external ear canal. So this is that little hole that you see there actually is only about 1 inch deep. And at the end of that ear canal is the eardrum. So between the eardrum and the outer part of the ear, where you can see that hole, that is what we call the external ear canal. And that is where swimmer's ear tends to occur. And as I said, it is a bacterial infection that is due to the ear canal being exposed to contaminated water.
That's the Health Report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Keep your ears dry after swimming or bathing. Avoid putting objects like cotton swabs or fingers into your ears. Wear earplugs designed for swimming if you're prone to swimmer's ears. And dry your ears gently with a towel and tilt your head to let water drain out.
Thank you, Shamela. Time now for the top stories from around the world.
In the region, Guyana says it is awaiting official communication from Suriname following reports that Paramaribo intends to finance the proposed Corentyne River Bridge on its own. President Dr. Irfan Ali says discussions on the project have always been based on a joint approach, with Suriname previously indicating it was arranging its financing. Suriname maintains it informed Guyana of the decision earlier this year, with the estimated cost of the bridge at $300 million. And on the international scene, the United States has launched a fresh wave of airstrikes against Iran. U.S. Central Command says more than 80 targets were hit Tuesday, including air defense systems, command centers, and anti-ship missile sites. Washington says the strikes are in retaliation for Iranian attacks on commercial vessels near the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has also reimposed some economic sanctions despite the ceasefire agreement. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Aaliyah Bryant.
Thank you, Aaliyah. We now head to our final break, but when we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report.